Welcome to Fortify Your Home, the ultimate guide to urban defense, Part 3. In today's uncertain world, especially in densely populated city environments, a well-fortified home can be your sanctuary. Whether you're a beginner starting your preparedness journey or a seasoned prepper looking to reinforce your urban home, this series provides practical, no-nonsense strategies tailored specifically for you. Each part of this three-part series dives deep into essential aspects of fortifying your home in an American urban context. From physical barriers and home security measures to blackout preparedness and maintaining essential supplies, these videos offer actionable tips you can implement in any typical U.S. home or apartment without fluff or paranoia. In this episode, we'll cover everything you need to know to turn your city home into a stronghold, both legally and mentally. We'll look at how to secure your home within the limits of the law, from understanding self-defense rights under the Castle Doctrine to avoiding legal traps and following local building codes. You'll learn how to fortify smartly without crossing legal lines that could lead to fines or worse. We'll also cover how to prepare your mind and your family for high-stress situations. Because no matter how strong your doors or how full your pantry is, mental resilience is what gets you through a real crisis. Whether you live in an apartment or a house, this video walks you through practical steps to strengthen your defenses, train your mindset, and stay ready without fear, paranoia, or breaking the law. Let's dive in layer by layer, ensuring you and your family remain safe, supplied, and prepared for whatever comes your way. Let's talk about the legal side of urban defense. Fortifying your home sounds simple, but in reality, it's a delicate balance between smart security and staying within the law. In the United States, you have the right to defend yourself, but there are laws that place limits on how far you can go when securing your property, especially during normal, non-crisis times. That's why it's so important to understand the legal landscape before making changes. Because the last thing you want to get into is legal trouble, while simply trying to protect your home and your loved ones. So before you reinforce doors, install barriers, or set up any kind of defense system, here are the key legal points you need to keep in mind. Now that we've covered the importance of staying within the law, let's dive into one of the most important legal protections you might have: the Castle Doctrine. In most U.S. states, the Castle Doctrine gives you the legal right to defend yourself inside your own home. The idea is simple: your home is your castle, and if someone breaks in and threatens you or your family, you have the right to use force, even deadly force, without any legal duty to retreat. As of the most recent data, 45 states have some form of Castle Doctrine on the books. Many of those states have stand your ground laws, which extend similar rights to situations outside your home. But, and this is crucial, the details vary by state. In some states, you're only justified in using lethal force if the intruder is actively committing a felony. In others, the law assumes that unlawful entry itself is enough of a threat to justify force. For example, in one state, you might legally be protected if you shoot a burglar climbing through your window. In another, you might need to prove that you genuinely feared for your life or for someone else's safety. So here's the bottom line: know your state's self-defense laws. Take the time to read your state's legal statutes, or better yet, consult with a local attorney or law enforcement officer. Because in a real-life crisis, the last thing you want to make is a deadly decision, only to find out later that it wasn't legally justified. It's not just about protecting your home, it's about protecting yourself from legal consequences too. Now, if your home defense plan includes firearms, there's another layer of law you need to be aware of, and that's firearms legislation. It's not just about owning a gun, it's about how you store it, where you keep it, and how you are legally allowed to use it. Many states have safe storage laws, especially if there are children in the home. In some cities, certain types of firearms, magazines, or accessories are banned altogether. And here's something people often overlook. In urban areas, even firing a weapon in self-defense can trigger a serious legal investigation. You need to be absolutely sure your use of force is justified, and that you can clearly explain why. One golden rule: always identify your target and know what's beyond it. Because legally and morally, you are responsible for every round you fire. Even if you do everything right, using a firearm in self-defense almost always leads to a police investigation. So, knowing the law and acting within it is your best defense, both physically and legally. And it's not just about guns. If you carry pepper spray or a taser or any other self-defense weapon, check your local laws. Some states limit the size of pepper spray canisters. Some cities restrict or even ban stun guns entirely. So, when in doubt, don't guess. Check your state statutes, ask your local police department, or speak with a qualified attorney. In a real emergency, split-second decisions matter, but being legally prepared, that starts now. There's one thing we need to be absolutely clear about: do not set traps, ever. This isn't Home Alone, and unless society has completely collapsed, booby traps are a fast track to criminal charges. We're talking about things like rigged shotgun shells at the door, spring-loaded weapons, or spike pits. In normal times, these are not just dangerous, they're illegal. The law does not tolerate automated or mechanical devices designed to injure or kill. Why? Because they can't tell the difference between an intruder, a firefighter, or a delivery driver, or a lost child. In fact, US case law consistently holds homeowners legally responsible for any injuries caused by traps, even if the person injured was breaking in. So here's the short of it: don't do it. Yes, in a true end-of-the-world, no-law scenario, some preppers might resort to traps as a last line of defense. But as long as any form of law and order still exists, booby-trapping your home is completely off-limits. A tripwire causes a fall, you could get sued. A hidden blade or a rigged door, that could land you in jail, or worse. And if you're thinking, well, in a collapse, no one will sue me, remember this: after order is restored, those actions can still be investigated. So, don't rely on deadly traps. Instead, focus on manned defenses and alarm systems that alert you so you can make the decision on how to respond. Smart defense is about staying alert and staying legal. Booby traps, they're just not worth the risk. So, if traps are off the table, what can you do to fortify your home the smart way? Let's talk about something just as important and often overlooked: building codes and permits. When reinforcing your home, it's not about just what works, it's also about what's allowed. Local laws and building codes can affect everything from fences to window bars. For example, in many areas, if you install bars on bedroom windows, they must have an interior release latch for fire safety. Tall fences, especially those with spikes or barbed wire, often require permits, or are outright banned in residential neighborhoods. Now, if you own your home, you usually have more freedom to make changes. But if you're renting or part of a homeowners association of any kind, your options may be more limited. HOAs can restrict things like visible security cameras, window bars, or certain types of fencing. So, be sure to check your community guidelines before making any major changes. That said, there are still plenty of ways to secure your home without running into legal trouble. Reinforcing doors from the inside? No permit needed. Security film on windows? Virtually invisible. And these upgrades won't set off red flags or attract unwanted attention from inspectors. But here's the key: always make sure your security upgrades don't create new hazards, like blocking emergency exits or increasing fire risks. The last thing you want is to spend time and money on a major fortification project, only to be forced to remove it later because it violates some kind of code. If you're planning serious installations like steel shutters or a safe room that alters your home structure, consider working with a licensed contractor who understands local codes. It'll save you a lot of stress and potentially a lot of money in the long run. So, you followed the rules, reinforced your home within legal boundaries, but what happens when things go sideways? Let's talk about the difference between normal times and a declared crisis. In emergencies, like local disasters, civil unrest, or martial law scenarios, legal standards can shift. Suddenly, what's allowed or tolerated may look very different. For example, after a hurricane or during a riot, some cities impose curfews, others restrict movement, or even temporarily suspend certain civil liberties. And in rare cases, martial law may come into play. During these times, actions like discharging a firearm in city limits, normally a major offense, may be treated more leniently, but only if it's clearly in self-defense amid chaos or looting. But be careful, that same action could be viewed as vigilantism, especially if it seems excessive or preemptive. That's why it's critical to stay informed. Monitor local news, emergency alerts, and official announcements to understand what rules are in place and how they're being enforced. In some past disasters, cities have even banned alcohol sales or enacted temporary laws aimed at keeping order. Now, let's be clear. Fortifying your home isn't going to violate emergency rules. But using force or weapons, even during a crisis, should always remain a last resort. And it should still follow the same self-defense principles we've been already discussing. Because whether it's calm or chaos, the goal stays the same. Protect your home, protect your family, and stay within the law. We've talked about how the law shifts in a crisis, but what about the legal risks you face even before anything happens? Let's take a closer look at something preppers often overlook: liability and insurance. Here's the reality. If someone, even an intruder, gets injured on your property, you could be held liable. It sounds outrageous, but there have been actual cases where burglars sued homeowners for injuries. Now, to be fair, many states have laws that protect you from these situations, especially if that person was committing a felony. But those protections aren't absolute. That's why it's important to review your homeowner's and renter's insurance policy. Some policies have exclusions for intentional acts or dangerous conditions that you create. For example, if you install barbed wire around your yard and a delivery driver somehow gets injured, your insurance company may decide not to cover the claim, or worse, drop your policy altogether. On the flip side, insurance companies often reward smart security upgrades. Adding deadbolts, security cameras, or a monitored alarm system can actually lower your premium because it reduces your overall risk. So, that new lock or alarm system you install, it's not just about safety, it could save you real money in the long run. And if you're planning bigger upgrades, like a backup generator or structural reinforcements to harden your home, double check that those changes don't violate your policy or void your coverage. Because in the end, prepping is about reducing risk, and your insurance is part of that protection plan, as long as it still covers you when you need it most. So, while insurance helps protect you financially, another layer of protection comes from surveillance. And that brings us to your legal rights around privacy and cameras. In some cases, it's completely legal to install security cameras on your own property. But the key is where they're pointed. Avoid angling cameras in a way that invades someone else's privacy. For example, directly facing a neighbor's bedroom or bathroom window. That could lead you in legal trouble, even if the camera is on your property. As a general rule, if it's visible from a public space, like a sidewalk, street, or your own yard, it's usually fair game to record video. But there's something many people don't realize. Audio is a different story. Many doorbell cameras and home systems also record sound. In some states, known as two-party consent states, it's illegal to record someone's voice without their knowledge and permission. Now, in day-to-day reality, this usually doesn't cause problems. But it's still something worth knowing, especially if your system records conversations on the porch, at your fence line, or near a sidewalk. But what about fake cameras or security signs? Totally legal. They might even deter opportunists. Just don't rely on them as your only line of defense. A fake sign won't stop any real threat. Security cameras are a great tool, but they're just one part of a larger plan. And that plan needs to fit your city's specific rules. Because here's the thing, every city has its quirks. Some urban areas have surprisingly strict regulations, even on things you wouldn't expect. For example, storing large amounts of propane or gasoline could violate local fire codes. And if you live in an apartment, drilling into walls and doors to reinforce them might break your lease, or go against building policies altogether. That's why it's important to understand your city's restrictions, and to weigh the benefits of any fortification against the potential headache it could cause in normal times. The good news? There are smart ways to stay prepared without breaking the rules. Let's say your landlord doesn't allow permanent changes, like bolting steel shutters to your windows. No problem. You can keep pre-cut plywood stored and ready to go. In a storm or emergency, boarding up your windows temporarily is usually allowed, as long as you take it down afterward. Another option? Use interior door braces. They add real security without requiring any drilling or permanent modifications. The key is flexibility. Not every solution has to be permanent. It just needs to be ready when it counts. In short, stay within the law while the law still exists. Our goal isn't to start legal battles, or even end up on the wrong side of the justice system. It's to protect our families, wisely and legally. By understanding and respecting the rules, you can fortify smart. Use smart legal measures. Better locks, alarms, cameras, all good. Avoid legal ones, traps, or using excessive force when it's not justified. And always keep this mindset. Any defensive action you take might later have to be explained, and it must sound reasonable under scrutiny. When in doubt, consult the pros. Many police departments even offer free home security assessments and can tell you what's allowed in your area. Because being prepared doesn't just mean having gear. It means being informed and being responsible. As preppers, we often imagine those worst-case, no-law scenarios. But the truth is, we live 99% of our lives under the law. Your urban fortress should be strong, but it should also be compliant with the world around it. Quick break here. If you're finding this video valuable and you want to keep sharpening your prepping skills, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the practical strategies and tips I share each week. Together, we'll stay prepared, informed, and ahead of whatever life throws our way. Alright, let's get back to the video. So, you've reinforced your home and you understand the legal boundaries. But there's one more layer to real preparedness, and it may be the most important of all: mental readiness. Because all the fortifications and supplies in the world won't help if you or your family break down under pressure when a real crisis hits. Mental preparedness is the glue that holds everything together when things get scary. Urban defense situations, like a home invasion or a citywide emergency, are extremely high stress. And when panic kicks in, people make mistakes, big ones. That's why building psychological resilience is just as important as reinforcing doors or stockpiling food. You need to train your mindset and you need to train your household so that when pressure hits, your instincts take over and your plan stays intact. Let's take a look at how to build that mental toughness and how to prepare your family to think clearly, stay calm, and act effectively, even when things go sideways. So, how do you actually build that mental resilience? One proven method is called stress inoculation. It means exposing yourself and your family to controlled stress in a safe, manageable way, so that when real pressure hits, you're not frozen, you're ready. Start with home drills. Just like schools have fire drills, your family should have defense drills. For example, try a home invasion drill. Pick a clear code word that signals danger, something like red alert or emergency. When that code word is shouted, everyone runs the plan. Maybe that means retreating to a safe room, or if you don't have one, gathering in the upstairs bedroom, locking the door, and calling 911. Time the drill. Then talk about it. What went well? What could be faster, smoother, or safer? The goal isn't perfection, it's repetition. Because when your brain has a script to follow, panic doesn't take over. Try another, a blackout drill. One evening, shut off all the lights and electronics. Go through the night using only your emergency gear. This not only tests your flashlights and candles, it also trains your household on how to function calmly in the dark. Who checks on the neighbors? Where's the safest place to put an open flame? Who's responsible for communications? The more you practice, the more these actions become automatic, even under pressure. Drills and practices are key, but there's another piece of mental preparedness you can't ignore: making decisions under pressure. In a real crisis, you may have just seconds to act. Do you fight or flee? Do you hide or confront? Your ability to think clearly in those moments can be the difference between chaos and control. One effective technique is visualization. Take a few moments, now and then, to imagine specific scenarios and mentally walk through your response. For example, it's 2 a.m. I hear glass breaking. I grab my phone and flashlight, move my family into the safe room, lock the door, and announce loudly that I've called the police and I'm armed. By visualizing this step by step, you're programming your mind to follow a script, even when adrenaline kicks in. Another powerful method is the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. Originally developed by the military, this cycle helps you stay focused when every second counts. In simple terms, take in what's happening, understand it, choose a response, then act, and keep adjusting as the situation changes. Training yourself to cycle through that loop quickly can help prevent panic, hesitation, or freezing in place. And after any drill, or even a minor scare, take time to debrief with your family. What worked? What didn't? What can be improved next time? The goal is clear thinking, and that only happens if panic is kept at bay. So, here's the core skill. Recognize the signs of panic: a heart racing, tunnel vision, shaky hands, and use techniques like breathing, grounding, and recalling your training to stay sharp when it matters most. Clear decision-making is vital in a sudden emergency, but what if the crisis doesn't end overnight? Some urban situations can stretch on for days, even weeks. An extended blackout, unrest that traps you indoors, or a supply disruption that drags on far longer than expected. This is where mental toughness shifts from quick reaction to long-term endurance. In prolonged hardship, survival becomes as much about mindset as it does about supplies. And one common trait among survivors? They stay optimistic, or at least focused on a goal, even in the darkest moments. Try to train your mind to look for solutions, not just problems. Set small, manageable goals. Let's get through tonight safely. Let's stretch our food another week, then reassess. And when you hit those milestones, celebrate them. Even a quiet moment of gratitude can boost morale and restore focus. If you have children with you, your calm matters more than ever. They look to you for safety and for cues. Keep routines where you can. Tell stories. Play simple games. These little acts help shield young minds from trauma and help preserve a sense of normalcy. But don't ignore your own mental fatigue either. In long-lasting scenarios, you may face boredom, frustration, even despair, so plan for it. Keep a book nearby, a journal, a deck of cards. Small comforts can help you stay human and hold on to clarity when days blur together. Because in the end, mental endurance is not just about being unbreakable. It's about staying centered, one moment at a time, until the storm passes. Endurance helps you survive long challenges. But one of the best ways to reduce fear and build true confidence is by gaining real skills. Because let's face it, anxiety often comes from feeling helpless. But the more capable you and your family are, the less helpless you'll ever feel. Start simple. Take a first aid class. Just knowing how to handle a bleeding wound or a burn can dramatically reduce your fear of medical emergencies. Learn basic self-defense or martial arts. Even a few classes can give you practical techniques and a much stronger sense of control in dangerous situations. If you own firearms, get trained. Firearm training isn't optional, it's essential. It teaches not just marksmanship, but how to control your breathing, manage adrenaline, and make calm decisions under stress. If you're serious, consider a certified defense shooting course, or even force-on-force training with simulation rounds. These environments simulate high-stress encounters in a safe, controlled way, and they're eye-opening. And don't train alone. Get your family involved. Take a course with your partner. Encourage your teens to join a local boxing gym or a scouts program that teaches survival, leadership, and teamwork. Because skills do more than keep you safe. They build self-efficacy, that inner belief of, I can handle this, I've got this, I know what to do. In a crisis, that belief is everything. Training builds confidence, but don't forget, mental recovery is just as important as physical readiness. In any high-stress event, emotions run high, and not everyone processes stress the same way. That's why you need to include psychological first aid in your family's preparedness plan. After a scary incident, like a break-in attempt, a blackout, or even a violent news event nearby, take time to check in on each other. Some people go quiet and withdrawn. Others may seem irritable or restless. Don't ignore it. Once things are safe, sit down as a family, talk it out, acknowledge what happened. It's okay to say, man, that was really frightening. Denying fear doesn't make it go away. In fact, it might make anxiety worse later on. Then, gently shift the focus. What did we learn? What went well? How are we better prepared for next time? This helps your family turn fear into forward momentum. And if someone in your household continues to struggle with nightmares, severe anxiety, or signs of trauma, don't hesitate to seek professional help, even post-event, because mental health isn't separate from preparedness. It's part of it. Keep your mind and your loved ones strong and supported. It's just as vital as any supply, plan, or tool in your kit. Checking in with each other is important, but don't forget to check in with yourself too, because here's the other side of mental preparedness: avoiding burnout. Constantly living in high alert isn't sustainable, and over time, you can wear down mentally, emotionally, and physically. Prepper fatigue is real. Some people get so caught up in the waiting for the worst that they burn out and even push away the people closest to them. But remember, the goal of preparedness isn't constant stress. It's peace of mind. Your preps should feel like a safety net, not a prison. So find balance, enjoy the good times. Let life be normal, even joyful when it can be. And yes, keep training, but don't run doom and gloom drills every week. Make some of them fun. Practice with the kids. Turn it into a challenge or a game. And if you ever feel overwhelmed by all the what ifs, step back, take a breath. You're not prepping because you're afraid. You're prepping so you don't have to live in fear. You've fortified your home. You've trained your mind. You've earned the right to feel safer. So give yourself permission to feel that safety and live your life. In summary, a resilient mindset is your most powerful weapon. And it's what keeps you calm when the power's out and the sirens echo through the city. It's what keeps you sharp when a window shatters at 3 a.m. Because in those moments, you won't panic. You'll remember your training. You'll manage your fear. You'll execute your plan and lead your family to safety. That mental edge, combined with your physical preparedness, is what truly fortifies your home from the inside out. And as the saying goes, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So practice, prepare your mind, and when the moment comes, you won't just survive it, you'll face it with resolve and clear thinking. We've covered a lot in this ultimate guide to urban home defense, and by now, you can see, fortifying your home isn't just one thing. It's a layered, strategic approach. You build it step by step. You start with a secured perimeter to discourage intruders. You reinforce doors and windows to delay entry. You install surveillance and alarms to give early warning. You create a safe room as your final fallback. You prepare for blackouts so you're never left vulnerable in the dark. You stock supplies so you can hunker down comfortably for days or even weeks. You engage with your community wisely to multiply your strength through connection. And you stay within the law while doing it all. But most importantly, you train your mind and your family. Because the strongest door means nothing if the people behind it freeze, panic, or lose hope. Urban preppers face unique challenges. You might not have land for bunkers or massive stockpiles. You live closer to both threats and resources. But with smart planning, you can turn a city apartment or a small house into a true urban fortress. Not a medieval castle, at least not in normal times, but a stronghold where your loved ones feel protected. Now, let's be real. Nothing is ever 100% secure, but every layer you add, every smart measure you take, greatly improves your odds. The goal? Make your home the hardest target on the block. Most criminals won't even bother when they meet resistance. But if someone's desperate or foolish enough to try, you're ready to withstand them or outlast them. You've also prepared to survive without outside help, and that alone brings peace of mind when the rest of the city is scrambling. So take it one step at a time. Maybe this month you upgrade your locks or install an alarm. Next month, you work on your pantry and water supply. Every action is an investment in your safety and your resilience. Get your family involved. It empowers everyone, because at the heart of urban defense is this simple truth. It's not about paranoia. It's about proactive protection. You don't live in fear. You live with the confidence that you've taken smart, measured steps to protect what matters most. By fortifying your home and fortifying yourselves, you transform your space into a haven. So no matter what's unfolding outside, a blackout, a hurricane, civil unrest, or worse, inside your walls is security, strength, preparedness. Stay safe, stay prepared, and thank you for watching. Now go forth and fortify your castle. Your future self will thank you for it. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or experiences. And remember, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next series.